I'll just read it out and then we'll go through it. All right, so Boston's getting Porzingis, the pick in this year's draft from Memphis,
Yeah.
and next year's Golden State first round pick. The Grizzlies are getting Marcus Smart to replace Dylan Brooks and his defensive intensity. The Wizards are getting Tyus Jones from Memphis, along with Mike Musala and Danilo Gallinari, and a
Yeah.
second round pick from the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
winners and losers, can we just agree that Boston has won this trade?
Oh,
I
depends
love
how you
that.
want
I
to
love
look at
that
it.
you switched from absolutely to to
Because
to this.
okay, from a pure trade standpoint, like if I'm looking at a pure standpoint, you're right. Boston are absolutely the winners of the trade. But what is Boston going to do with the 2 second round picks? That's from Boston's perspective, I don't see them as a complete winner. From a neutral perspective, they won this trade for sure.
So
Like,
you're telling me after just watching Denver win a title with that Brown kid on the bench and now picking up more first round picks to try and find more gems and uncover them. I'm telling you, 2 first round picks, you can't take this shit lightly. Like,
nah. I think I don't.
for
I would.
Marcus Smart. For Marcus
No, no,
Smart.
yeah. It's worth it. No. Don't get me wrong. It's worth it. I'm just trying to think, what Marcus Smart added to Boston Celtics, the defense. And I'm going to be very honest here. From all the Celtics games I watched, Marcus Smart's probably the only player who can actually pass the ball. Being brutal out here.
And that's at a push. Like,
Yeah, okay,
he's
fair
not
enough.
amazing either. He's
He's
not
not
amazing
amazing,
either.
but he's pretty much the only player that push because they got rid of Brogdon. They didn't sign him, or did they? No, they
I,
did
I
trade
think
someone.
I think Brogdon's still gonna stay around, so
Still
he's
gonna
gonna be
say
the
okay,
veteran point guard.
but yeah. Anyway, the point is that no one's passing the ball there. Marcus Smart was barely, and now they've got rid of him. We know KP's not going to pass the ball. That's not who he is. So, and I don't even understand the lineup they're going to plan to play. Like, it would be Brogdon, Derek White, Tatum, Brown, and then it would be KP at the center.
Robert Williams. I feel like KP might play the four with
Where's
Brown and
Tatum
Tatum
going?
moving out.
Oh, okay. So Brown plays the shooting guard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the ball movement is going to be the enemy of Boston Celtics, as it has been for quite a while.
Exactly.
But what you did point out, it sounds like they're one CP3 veteran minimum away from a decent roster. That's
I
what it's
mean,
sounding like.
if that did happen, yep, that does change a lot of things. Will it happen? I don't know. But yes,
Yeah.
you're right. If they do decide to move that and try get CP3, I think that would be pretty solid. But to be honest, if they were gonna go for CP3, I'm sure they would have been able to get that deal done with the Wizards itself in this deal. I don't think why they would need another deal for it.
And before we get on with our free agency section of the video, what do you make of Marcus Smart going to the Grizzlies? Like, do you think it'll actually be good?
I think it will be good because we've established that they need veteran presence. We know all the off-season thing that's happening. But we know they need a veteran presence, and obviously Marcus Smart. Okay, I know he's not a huge veteran, but he's better than Dylan Brooks. He's not going to be going out there partying. He's probably going to be telling them to do the right things. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's how I see Marcus Smart. We've always seen him as a glue guy. We've seen him as accountable. But my question for you is, why would you spend 2 first-round picks to get that veteran presence when you can get a vet minimum? I'm sure there's people out there with vet minimums with a lot more experience and a lot more accountability.
Do you think that market is there for Memphis to grab those guys? Because we talk about obviously what it's going to look like for some of the big teams that are so close to winning a title, it feels like, when you have LeBron, when you have Tatum, when you have guaranteed first team NBA sort of players, Hall of Famers even, that market will be there for the veteran minimums. But right now, do you see Memphis being that sort of situation? 25 game ban to your one and only true star. So that's the question mark.
Yeah,
Like, I
I
think I
think
think this year for Memphis is another year of groundworks. If they get some sort of trophy out of this, it would be a great documentary, but I
Oh
don't
yeah,
see it working out well. In
no,
terms of Marcus Smart, you said it, and I think the words were glue guy, and Draymond's a glue guy. And
right.
we made a video quite a while back talking about Looney and Draymond, and they are glue guys, but that glue is unique. And I'm really wondering if Marcus Smart's value is transferable to other rosters, because he's molded himself to what the Boston Celtics need. I don't know how comfortable this guy's going to be playing with Jar. It's going to be very different. He's never played with someone like Jar in his life before. So I think in terms of basketball on the court, pure hoops, it's a question mark until I see more of what Marcus Smart looks like again next to an explosive guard. Kemba Walker, those sort of guys back in the day, Isaiah Thomas, different sort of experience. Jar's a lot more explosive. So
I still think it shouldn't be too much of a problem, just because I don't see Marcus Smart doing too much in offense. Honestly, I think he's going to be a lot more defensively focused. I believe he's just pretty much going to be Dylan Brooks, except I feel like Dylan Brooks just didn't know where his offensive
hmm,
liabilities were, or where his border is. Like, you don't go past, you
yeah,
just stay there. I think Marcus Smart knows where his capabilities is on the offense, and I think he'll adapt to that role. So I do think that it's a good trade for Memphis. Was it worth second round picks? I guess you're right. Who's gonna go to
two
Memphis?
first round picks, man, two first round picks. Like,
Yeah, like that was always my concern. But yeah, I can see a point. Like with the Suns, obviously Katie's gonna be recruiting every single veteran there is out there. Um, I I agree. Fair enough.
if you're giving up two, I think the conversation should be, do you give up three or four and maybe get someone who fits perfectly into the mold of an off-ball defensive player?
Who's there?
And like I
Who would you
think
say?
I think
Give me a player.
between OG and Mikal Bridges. And I know Mikal's not really on the market, but I think OG is
Yeah.
definitely on the market.
Uh, this is straight up on the record. I don't think OG's works for first round picks. I feel like Toronto's really, really
I
unsure
don't
of who
either.
he is.
I don't either. But I do think he's a better fit than Marcus Smart. And when you're trying to win a championship, just get the guys. Just get the guys you want. Give them 2 years, 3 years, and see what happens. If not, reevaluate. But when you
Yeah, you
have
also have the off court things to think about as well. Remember
Hmm.
the, the guns,
the guns,
and I'm assuming Marcus Smart would be able to hold the players accountable better than OG. He seems like
I
a really
don't I don't see teammates having this influence over players making upwards of $40 million a year.
You
There's
think
nothing.
you think
There's nothing
Udonis
a
Haslem
teammate
hasn't
could
had
say to
an
me.
impact on Miami as your
Who?
favorite team, Miami?
Who?
Hasn't on your Miami Heat culture?
But that is a built-in culture employed over 50 employees that say, if you don't meet this BMI requirement, if you don't meet this beep test requirement, there are rules. You can't just come in halfway through someone's career and set rules. But like, look, it's not even worth discussing. Like, Ja will do what Ja wants to do. If he wants to win, there's a way. If he wants to mess around, there's a way. It's really up to him. Anyways. All right, welcome back to Lockdown Sports. It's the off season for some people, but some of us wanna keep working, isn't that right, Saru? So
Yep, F1's still going, so I just want to put that out there as well. So it's still
So
in
it's the off
season.
season. That's what I'm hearing. It's the off season. All right. All right. So NBA off season. I'm sure every channel that you watch does some sort of favorite trades, favorite off season moves, favorite draft picks, whatever. So, I told you basically 4 or 5 hours ago, give me a player that's a free agent this summer. Tell me where they should be going. Not where they're actually going to go, because we know a lot of people fuck up these decisions, but who's that player you've got in mind?
I've actually taken down three. I've thought of three players. I'm gonna start with Philly as a Philly fan, and I would love the addition of Kevin Love. Obviously James Harden, like I think that's a given. But Kevin Love is someone I would really want as because we really don't have any depth in the number four spot. And did you know Philadelphia is at the top of the table in regular season for 3 point percentage, but we're at the bottom of the table for 3 point attempted. Makes no sense. Makes no sense. If you're shooting the three that well, why are we not shooting that many? And I think Kevin Love really gets that in. And obviously the championship experience, the veteran presence. I think all of that adds up. What's your thoughts on that?
Like,
From one
well,
neutral perspective.
I've liked what Kevin Love offered my Miami Heat, but it was a limited role. It was a limited role. You know,
Yeah,
even the games that he was starting, not a lot of minutes. And I do get what you're saying with the 3 point shooting and how weird and wacky it is that you're good at it, but you don't do it enough. You have to test the limits on that, and he's going to
yeah,
help with that.
absolutely.
Um, really depends for me, like in terms of how realistic it is. I think there are better options for K Love in terms of maybe going back with LeBron.
Championship window.
Look, I'm not that high on the 76ers, but yeah, it is your championship window. It is your championship
Exactly.
window. I'll give you that. But yeah, in terms of what he can do on the court, pick and pop will be there. The worry for me was that despite his size, that lack of mobility has gotten worse throughout the years, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why the Cavs somewhat surprisingly moved away from him. I know they have a couple other bigs as well. They didn't really have the minutes to give to Kevin Love anymore. And I think that's going to be the worry for Kevin Love. But I think it's a great addition for someone that now won't take much salary, right? He won't be on much
Exactly.
salary. So
Exactly.
I think whoever gets him should be grateful.
Yeah, and I think like the mobility point was good, but I think that's one of the reasons why he would actually work well with the 76ers. We're not a quick team. Like Joel Embiid's always going to be a slow player, and he doesn't have to be like a crazy athletic, player that runs up and down the floor. But yeah, I think he's definitely going to work. Who's your one player?
I had a couple because I was worried you'd pick one of my boys.
Okay.
But I've gone with recent NBA champion who's opted out of his player option, Bruce Brown.
First round. Hmm. And where is he
So,
going?
Bruce Brown for me, he's not going to Shanghai. He's not going to Nihao land.
He's had a good season.
He's
I
had a
don't think
good
he's
season.
yeah.
He's had a good season. For me, I think it's time Bruce Brown takes his talents to San Antonio. Now, couple
Huh?
reasons.
Okay.
Couple
I want to
reasons.
hear this.
Okay. Okay. He had 2 seasons at the Brooklyn Nets, and now he's had a season at Denver. This whole
Yeah.
idea that Bruce Brown is a role player needs to be abolished. He can fit into a system really well. Like, he
Okay.
is a role player, I get that, but he is also a very good player. So I want to
Yeah.
see him test the limits of that essentially in terms of what role he can play. And San Antonio, for me, built on defense with Greg Popovich, first of all. And secondly, you've got a young rook in Victor Wembanyama as of tomorrow, as of today, depends when we're putting this out. That's going to need a lot of guys helping him adjust to the league, maybe when he's on those minutes rotations. I think Bruce Brown is someone who can guard upsized. You know, he can guard the fours, he can guard the fives, he can guard those post up possessions. And that's where I think the most value is for Bruce Brown. It doesn't have to be San Antonio, but I think it is on one of these teams that is rebuilding that will be able to pay him because I'm sick of seeing some of these guys putting in such great performances and not getting paid for it. So that was the thinking in going to, I guess, what is quote unquote a weaker team.
Yeah, because I agree with everything about Bruce, man, like in the sense that how good he is and all the things that he can do. I don't see him going into a rebuilding team, to be honest. I get that they're going to be the ones that probably going to offer him the most money, but I don't know. I see him. I see him maybe slotting in as a number five into some teams. Like I mean by number five, I mean like the fifth starter in some teams. Rebuilding team, I don't know. It really depends on what he chooses, the money or the win.
He's turned down what is almost a $10 million player option, right? This season.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I think it could be a bit less.
Yeah.
But I think he will go for
Six
about 10
point
to
eight.
15 mil. 6.8. There you go.
Yeah.
And I've read that over his NBA career, he's made only $15 million because
Yeah.
of what he was unable to do at Detroit, playing different roles to what he's suited for, and what he's done at Brooklyn and Denver now,
Mhm.
chasing that ring. And I think it's getting to that point in someone's career. And I love when players make these moves. We'll talk about it when we're talking about soccer, football, with what's happening with the Saudi money. I love it when players take control financially and really just make sure that they realize this is just a game. Take care of yourself financially. You've got
Yeah.
enough success out of the sport.
Yeah. I can see that. I think it'll be interesting to see. I do. Part of me still believes that he wouldn't want to go to a tanking team like San Antonio. But yeah, I guess that will surprise us for sure.
Bruce Brown's still 26, so there's plenty
Yeah.
of time left for him.
Yeah. That is absolutely true. He is still 26 and he's still got, plenty of chance. And to be honest, I wouldn't even mind seeing him. I don't know how the salary and thing will do, but I wouldn't even mind seeing him go back to the Nets even. Just that scrubby bunch that the next Nets have. It's kind of almost like the Nets before the KD era with like the
Mm.
D'Lo,
It's
Joe
exciting.
Simon.
It's exciting, but it's
It's
not
exciting.
the
It's
full
not
package.
championship. Yeah, it's not championship, but it's good watching. Good for TV, for sure.
All right. Before we wrap up, sorry, give me that third player.
Ah, third player. I've got Clint Capella to Sacramento, and I don't know how this is gonna work with money. I think this would have to involve Clint Capella taking a money cut, which I think not many people would really are looking for Clint Capella. He would definitely be really good in Sacramento. I've always said Sabonis is not a number five in my opinion. He's just not big enough. He's just not strong enough. Capella brings that. He brings defense for a Sacramento team that is terrible in defense. So Clint Capella to Sacramento. That's
Yeah, that's a bit of a surprising one for me because when I think about Sacramento, I think about the R2 button on FIFA and 2K, and I don't know where exactly Clint Capella fits into this pace and space sort of system.
I feel like they do need some sort of defensive presence. And you're right, they are pace and space, but I do believe they need someone else to kind of.
So do you think that adjustment's necessary then because
Yes,
they are so one way? Because a lot
absolutely.
of the times when we come across this problem, it's a philosophical question of sorts where like, do you back down, do you double down, or do you go the other way and try and seek some sort of balance? And I thought they were very close. If they did overcome Golden State, it would have been a different conversation for some of the other teams. The Lakers would have struggled with that pace. Denver might
Yeah,
have
yeah.
struggled with that pace, and it could be a totally different conversation.
I just think that for starters, the reason why Clint Capella would even be on the cards is I don't think Harrison Barnes is just good enough to be playing as a four,
He's also
especially
going to free agency as well, so
exactly, yeah, exactly. And
definitely not a guaranteed.
I think a better option would be to use Sabonis at the four and move Capella to five. Because yes, pace and space is great. But when it comes to that really crucial moments, the half court offense as we call it, when there's a timeout and you need to run a play, there's not going to be a better pick and roll partner for De'Aaron Fox than Clint Capella. And he can catch lobs. I think it adds another game into on top of De'Aaron Fox's things as well. I think it'll be a bit more passing involved as well, which will be great to see. But yeah, that's what I've got. A bit of a controversial one for sure.
Yeah,
What's your
with Capella, I guess it's one of those questions: how good is a player that is playing with that ball dominant guard? You know, Trey
Yeah,
Young, James Harden. When you play with some of these guys, they're the ones giving you an extra maybe $5 to $10 million on that contract with what they're able to do, lobbing that ball
yeah,
up, playmaking through pick and roll. And there's some sort of blame attributed to these guys now. I think after a while, we're really moving away from what that center mold looks like with Victor coming into the league. And I think if you can pick up Clint Capella on the cheap, I think that would be a great deal. And Atlanta, man, we talked about it with Dallas. Don't really like what's happening with that franchise, but we'll touch on that soon.
yeah.
Anyways, stay
And
tuned, stay locked in, subscribe for more.